What's up, gamer? My name's Waluko, and today I'm going to show you how to get through Act 6 of Path of Exile 1's campaign faster. As a quick disclaimer, this is not meant to be a super optimal guide for speedrunners to clear through the whole campaign in 2 hours flat. It's meant for beginner and intermediate players to share the tricks that I use and the paths that I take in each act to speed things up as someone who takes 5 to 7 hours on average to go from the beginning of the campaign to the end. After sailing out of Act 5, you start Act 6 in a sunny version of Lioneye's Watch, the same town as Act 1. The first thing you should do is run to the top right exit of the zone and get right out of town. You'll end up in the coast, and your goal here will be the same as it was the first time around. Just get from the entrance to the waypoint and the exits on the right side of the zone. The Tidal Island does have another side quest on it, but once again we're going to go to the Mudflats. Go from the entrance to the far right corner of the zone and look for a boss named the Dishonored Queen. When she dies, she'll drop a quest item called the Eye of Conquest. Pick it up, run toward the top left side of the zone, and look for a big red door with a bunch of totems and spikes in front of it. Click on the gate to use the Eye of Conquest to open it, then click on the door to enter the Karui Fortress. When you load in, follow the path to the right side of the zone until you find the entrance to Tukohama's keep. As the name suggests, when you go inside, you'll have to fight a boss named Tukohama. His attacks are pretty simple, but at half health he gets a shield and summons 4 small totems on the outside of the arena. Kill all of the totems and the shield will go away so you can finish him off. When he is dead, Sin will swoop in and unlock a new set of power-ups called the Pantheon. Pantheon Powers are permanent buffs that you can inherit by killing certain bosses in the second half of the campaign. There are 2 kinds of Pantheon Powers called Major and Minor. There are several options available for each type, but you can only have one of each kind selected at a time. Killing Tukohama unlocked your first Minor Pantheon Power, which you can equip by talking to Sin and selecting the one circle that's filled in. If you want to change your Pantheon Powers in the future, you can do so by going to a town or your hideout, opening the Pantheon panel with the Y button on PC, or by opening the character menu and navigating to the rightmost tab if you're on console, then just click on the power you want to equip it. When you're done messing with that, grab the crafting recipe on the top side of the arena, then leave through the exit to the left. Continue along the path to the top right and go through the door to the next zone. Once you're in the ridge, you have 2 options. If you currently have a really bad amulet or belt equipped and you really want to replace one of them, you can go do the side quest on the Tidal Island called Bestel's Epic. If your gear is already okay, then you can skip this one and go to the next step, but I'm going to explain how to do Bestel's Epic first. So, from the waypoint in the ridge, teleport back to the waypoint in the coast and take the door to the Tidal Island. The quest here is basically the same as it was last time. Run from the top side of the map to the bottom, find the quest item, and bring it back to town. The main difference between this version and the one in Act 1 is that you don't actually have to kill the quest boss to get the item you need this time around. Whether you kill the boss or not, click the storage chest on the ground, pick up Bestel's manuscript from the ground, and use a portal scroll to go back to town. When you use a portal scroll to go back to town in Act 6, the portal actually dumps you out on the far left side of town, right next to the door to the Twilight Strand. There's a quest that everybody needs to do in there, so if you decided to skip Bestel's Epic, this is the next place you need to go. The goal in the Twilight Strand is to kill every single enemy in the zone. It's a little bit of a pain, but just run through every section of the zone and kill whatever you can find. Occasionally, you may see encounters that spawn extra enemies like strongboxes or abysses. There's nothing wrong with clearing those encounters, but you don't need to complete them to finish the quest, so feel free to skip them if you want to save some time. When the last enemy is dead, you should see the quest Fallen from Grace pop up in your quest objectives on the right side of your screen, with the goal being to talk to Lily Roth. Go back to town and talk to her to finish the quest and unlock her shop, which sells almost every single skill and support gem in the game. If you did Bestel's Epic, talk to Bestel to turn in his manuscript and collect your new piece of gear. Talk to Tarkly to turn in the quest for killing Tukohama and get a skill point. Then, once all of that's done, use the waypoint in town and go back to the ridge. There are no side objectives to do in this zone, but it is a little difficult to navigate, and the exit is usually somewhere on the top left or top right of the zone, depending on how the layout spawned, so your best bet is to wander around the zone, checking both of those directions until you find your way out. When you get close to the exit, you should start seeing wagon wheels sticking out of the ground on their axles. Follow the path up to the hole in the roof and enter the lower prison. Here is where you find the first Ascendancy trial for the second difficulty of the Lord's Labyrinth. The zone itself isn't that big, so it isn't too hard to navigate. Just wander around until you find the exit, and the trial is usually somewhere a little ways beyond the door. So if you find the exit, just keep going past it, and you should find the trial before too long. Complete the trial, then run back and go through the door to the next zone. Shavronne's Tower is another multi-level zone that we have to climb floor by floor. From the entrance, run around until you find the first set of stairs, go through it, then each level after that is basically a big square with a void in the middle. Sometimes you have to go around the void, sometimes you have to cross the bridge and go over it, but just keep going around the squares until you find the door to the prison rooftop, where you have to fight Shavronne and a reanimated version of Brutus. First you have to fight Brutus, then you have to fight Shavronne, then Shavronne will possess Brutus and power him up for the final phase of the fight. Overall, their attacks are pretty simple to avoid, but Brutus still has the slams that he had the first time you fought him in Act 1, and he has a new attack where he throws a chain to a wall behind you, then pulls himself forward to try and crash into you. Both of those attacks are pretty dangerous, and they get more dangerous when Brutus is powered up in the last phase, but if you can avoid them, you should be able to clear the boss without too much trouble. After the bosses are dead, go out the door to the bottom left side of the arena into the Warden's chambers, grab the crafting recipe from the top right side of the room, then go out the door on the top left. From the Prisoner's Gate, we're going to have to do some portal shenanigans to minimize our backtracking while we do all of the objectives. Following the main road in this zone will take you to the main exit, but there is a path somewhere off to one side of the road, usually toward the top or right sides, that leads to an important side quest. While you're following the road, look for the entrance to this path, and when you find it, open a portal, then go back to following the road until you find the exit, and go through to the Western Forest. When you get there, keep following the road until you find a waypoint. Use that waypoint to go back to Lioneye's Watch, and go back through the portal that you opened to the Prisoner's Gate. From the portal, run down the side path and explore the area until you find a door under a giant goat statue to a zone called the Valley of the Fire Drinker. Inside is a boss named Aberrath, the Cloven One, and killing it gives you a skill point and unlocks a new minor power in your Pantheon panel. When the boss is dead, go back to town and talk to Tarkly to get a new helmet as a reward for killing Shavronne, talk to Bestel for a skill point as a reward for killing Aberrath, then use the waypoint to go back to the Western Forest. From the waypoint, follow the road toward the top right of the zone and keep going whichever way it takes you until you reach the door to the Riverways. Keep following the road in this zone and you'll eventually find another waypoint. Get close enough to activate it, then run off the road toward the top side of the map and look for a door to a zone called the Wetlands, then go through it. In my experience, the next door you need to find in this zone is most often on the far left side of the zone. So when you enter, run to the left side until you find a wall, then run along it and look for the door to another zone called the Spawning Ground. If you run along the left side and don't find the door at all, then it's most likely in the very top right corner of the zone. So run across to that side and go through the door when you find it. Inside the Spawning Ground is your next Pantheon boss. When you first go in, the boss will not spawn right away. To make it spawn, you need to go down the stairs on the bottom left or right sides into the area with all of the poison puddles and monsters. In the right, bottom, and left corners of this lower area, you'll find these things called Rislotha's nests. Kill all three of them, and then go back up the stairs, and Rislotha herself should be waiting for you. When you kill her, Sin will swoop in and unlock her Pantheon power for you. This Pantheon power is probably my favorite out of all of the minor Pantheons, and I use it on most of my builds, unless I have a specific reason to use one of the other ones. When you have it active, it passively recharges your life and mana flasks by 3 charges every 3 seconds. It's not a lot by itself, but if you're struggling on a boss and you run out of flasks, being able to stall for a while and let your flasks fill back up is incredibly useful. Whether you equip the power or not, go back to town, talk to Tarkly for another skill point as a reward for killing Rislotha, then use the waypoint in town and go back to the Riverways. From the waypoint, keep following the road over all the bridges until you find the road blocked by a big ruined bridge and several unique enemies, collectively called the Animal Pack. They are not quest enemies, so you don't need to kill them. Instead, when you see them, turn off the road toward the right side of the zone and look for the door to a zone called the Southern Forest. This zone is basically a giant S shape with each turn marked by a falling log acting as a bridge over one of the area's rivers. To start, run towards the bottom of the zone until you find the first log, go over it, then run to the right until you find the second log, go over that and run to the top right until you find the last log. Then when you find your way to the last section of the map, run toward the bottom right and you should eventually find the exit to the Cavern of Anger. Once you go inside, you'll find Nessa sitting on a rock and she'll start talking to you. You don't really have to listen to her, but there is a flag chest right in front of her, and it's very important that you open that chest and grab the flag that drops from it. After that, continue through the passage and explore the zone to look for the next door. This zone has a lot of different layouts where the exit is in drastically different locations, so I can't really give specific directions on how to get through. If you find a locked door, that leads to an unlockable hideout, but if you already have the coral hideout unlocked, you don't ever need to go in there again. When you find the door to a zone called the Beacon, you're in the right place, so go on through. Make sure you grab the waypoint at the start of the zone, then start running directly to the right. Most of the time the correct path is on that side. Sometimes it is on the bottom side instead, but following that wall on the right side will eventually take you the correct way if you get that layout. Eventually, the path should open out into a wider beach area. Once you see that happen, run down to the edge of the water and follow along that instead. After going that way for a while, you should find a big pyramid-like structure with a bunch of pillars and stairs everywhere. Go up the first set of stairs, grab the crafting recipe at the base of the statue in the middle of the walkway, then go up the right side of the stairs or use a travel skill to jump up the ledge. When you get up there, it's very important that you use a portal scroll to open a portal. You don't need to use the portal, but having a portal here is very useful in case you die during this next section. Normally when you die, it's most convenient to go back to the most recent checkpoint. In this zone, the most recent checkpoint is all the way back at the very beginning of the zone, where the waypoint was. This would make for a huge run back if you die, and a ton of wasted time. If you die after opening a portal here, you can instead click the respawn in town button and go through the portal that you opened to immediately be back on this side of the map without having to run 10 miles. If you die and accidentally click on the respawn at checkpoint button out of habit, you can still use the waypoint at the beginning of the zone to go back to town, then click on the portal to skip the run that way. If you do die and use your portal to come back, don't forget to open a new portal to replace the one you used, just in case it happens again. That's our insurance policy against the next section, but now let's talk about what to actually do. Right in front of the portal, you should see a big fluid tank on a track with a glowing aura. If you stand in the aura, the tank will start moving along the track. As it moves, bunches of enemies will spawn and try to stop it. Kill them and keep escorting the tank until it reaches the larger contraption on the top right side of the map. Once you finish the one on the bottom right side, there's one more tank you have to escort on the top left side. So go back to the area where your portal is and look for the second tank. Once you've escorted both tanks, run up the stairs and click on the ignition switch to light the big torch in front of you. After it's lit, click on the torch to throw in the flag we got from Nessa back in the Cavern of Anger. When you do, the sky will go dark and a big boat will sail up to the coast right in front of you at the bottom of the pyramid. If you have a travel skill, run to the edge right in front of the torch and you can jump from there all the way to the bottom. If you don't have one, run down the stairs to the right and go all the way down. However you choose to get there, when you do, talk to the NPC that jumped out of the boat, Roth. He'll say some stuff, but if you click through it, you should see an option to sail to the Brine King's Reef. This is the last zone of Act 6 before the final boss, and unfortunately, it's also very difficult to navigate because the location of the exit is very different from layout to layout. Most of the time, I start by exploring toward the right side of the zone and running along the outside until I find the door to the boss's arena. The only problem is that sometimes the boss's arena is all the way on the left side of the zone, so it may take a while to find if that's the layout you get. When you do finally manage to find it, go on in and fight the boss. The Brine King's mechanics aren't too difficult. He does do a lot of cold and lightning damage, so if you find yourself dying a lot, it may help to add some resistance to that on your gear through the crafting bench in your hideout if you can. When the fight starts, Nessa does a whole bunch of talking, then when she finishes her lines, the Brine King always does a big slam attack that damages a big line across the arena in front of him, so make sure you don't stand directly in front of her to avoid that. As you damage the Brine King, there are 3 phases where he goes invincible, the arena shrinks, and Nessa sings for a bit while lightning and waves crash through everything. Those are really the most notable mechanics of the fight, and if you manage to dodge the water and the lightning, it's pretty trivial. The only other thing to look out for is that sometimes the Brine King will get a watery shell. If he has that all over him, touching it will cause damage to you, so make sure not to run into him while that's going on. When the boss dies, Sin will steal his soul for your first major Pantheon power, and a very strong one at that. This power says you cannot be stunned if you've been stunned or blocked a stunning hit in the past 2 seconds. Basically, it keeps you from getting stun locked to death, which is very helpful, and I highly recommend you equip it. Later on in the endgame, you can also upgrade it to make you immune to freeze and more resistant to chill as well. Anyways, once that's all done, talk to Roth again and click the option to sail to the bridge encampment to end Act 6 and enter Act 7. That's the entire act, and those are the paths that I take. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments or in my chat while I'm live both here and on Twitch. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more like it. If you want to see similar guides for all the other acts, I'll put a playlist of them in the pinned comment and the description down below. Lastly, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.